Hello and welcome to this episode of Tetch Talk. I'm Tetch, and today we're going to be joined by John Remar, who's Vice President of BattleBots, but maybe a little more familiar to regular BattleBots viewers in another role. But let's give him a more appropriate welcome, shall we? Today's guest brings 25 years at Boxside, and he's earned his stripes by never attempting to hide. When asking the questions here, got to make count every breath, else he'll 10 count this interview because he's the head ref. Coming to you from California, I bring to you John Remar.
Wow, that was the best introduction. In fact, can you talk to Chris and Kenny and see if you could get them to do that on the show? I would love that. Thank you for that.
Well,
that was
okay,
nice.
but,
That was very nice. Great to be back.
I try to make you feel at home a little, bring a little bit of the BattleBots box back to this little chat. So, John, it's great to see you. I mean, we've known each other almost 25 years since the very first BattleBots when we were both stuck building that battle box in the middle of Long Beach.
That's right. That was I'll never forget that day. That was the most intense day out of all the BattleBots we've ever done, because the truck pulled up and there was no loading dock, and we were at the Long Beach Pyramid. We weren't allowed to run a forklift because it would damage the basketball court, and it was this relatively brand new building, and they were very worried about it. The basketball team was about to take practice as soon as we were done filming, so we couldn't have any issues with it at all. And there was just a handful of us that had to take each one of those 4x4 foot square pieces of steel floor and the arena sides one by one off the truck on the little floor dollies, and push them. I don't know, felt like 300 yards, maybe not that far, but we were there till I think I left like at 3 or 4 in the morning the next day.
We finished filming at 11 o'clock that night, and anybody wants to see the time lapse at the end of the BattleBots beginnings video of the whole event start to finish, it took us, I think it was 7 days to set up, and then 2 to film, and then we finished filming. I think it was about 11 o'clock at night on Sunday. We were like an hour and a half late, and we were told they had basketball camp at 7 o'clock the next morning, and we had to load out. We had cleaners wheeling them out. We'd load them up onto dolly and just wheel them out to the thing, and you had a tray there, just literally loading. And each one of those was 200 pounds. I had difficulty just levering them up because I was only like 120 pounds at the time. You're right. It was intense.
It was.
I mean, but we've come a long, long way since then. I mean, I often wonder, because I was offered the job of color commentator there.
I didn't know that.
Lee Rearman actually asked, said, hey, he's great. He's British. He knows his bots. I need him as a color commentator. And I panicked. And so, we hadn't finished building the arena. So I dived under the arena that first session. I spent the entire first session of the arena literally just holding down the covers over the kill saws because they weren't fixed down yet. So I got to see the bots kind of being over my head during the first session. It was just, that was intense as well. That's why we didn't run the saws at the time, and it was And there you were, standing at the arena side throughout the entire lot in your striped shirt, laying down the rules.
Actually, that very first season, I wasn't in. That was Todd that was in the stripes. I was standing next to him, and I was basically managing and directing the platform and the drivers and communicating with the TV crew because I was producing it. And Todd was just handed a shirt, and Trey said, "Wear this and just act like you know what you're doing." And he's like, "Okay." And I think that's pretty much for all of us, because none of us had done this before. And it was all so new. And it's still one of my favorite events because I think we made so much happen with so little. Our production budget was tiny. The experience of doing robot combat, nobody had ever done anything like this before. And that arena was a behemoth, as you said, those 200-pound pieces we had to assemble. Anyway, we've moved on from there. We've grown a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We've learned a lot. It's night and day. The level of professionalism now, top to bottom, crew, drivers, team members, everybody associated with the show, top notch now.
I mean, you said, but I mean, there's still quite a few of the old faces still around. I mean, here's the this picture here of all of us, the crew picture from Vegas, season 2. Was that November 2000, in fact. Yep. So 23 years ago, wow. 23 and a half years ago, and you know, there's still quite a few people still in there. I mean, obviously there's you there on the right hand side, and then there's me hiding there just a little to the left of Greg, but then we got Pete as well, and I believe his son in the back there in the center is Sean is still involved with it, right?
Yeah, Sean is still there. I see Frank in there. Yeah. He's back there, and Todd, who I mentioned earlier, the very first referee, who's still involved with the show. He runs the clock, and he's been there since day one. Let's see, who else? Anybody else I recognize? I recognize some people in there, but most of them are not involved in the show anymore. Pete is in there, but that's about it. Oh, Greg's wife Tina, she's actively involved in the show. She helps Greg with a lot of the team.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, related stuff. But wow, that's a great photo to see. You could see Trey. We now have nicknamed him Red Hot Roski, and so you could see obviously where we got the red from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I mean, we were all so young back then.
Yes, and our former director, who we lost, was it 2-3 years ago now, who would still be involved with the show, Mike. He's there. But yeah, nice memory. Thanks for bringing that back. It's a great photo.
I just wish I still had the other ones and the other shows we did. They're somewhere around, floating around, I'm sure. But
I'm sure, yes.
Yeah. But that was at Vegas in the park, and from Vegas that one time we then moved over to San Francisco, or back to San Francisco, over to Treasure Island for the next 3 series, to close out the Comedy Central era with bigger and bigger shows. I mean, I think there was like 500 bots for the 5th season.
Yeah, it was intense because we had to go through qualifying rounds before we even got to what we shot on TV. And it was just one after the other after the other. We had multiple weight classes in those days, from lightweights to super heavyweights. And we used to do some just wild things. Like we used to let the teams drive out on top of their robots, things that we didn't. I think we did those in the Comedy Central days, or maybe the early ones. But we've changed a lot. Obviously, that's not safe. We don't want to do any of those kinds of things anymore. And we've really cleaned a lot of that up. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, those Treasure Island days.
And then obviously the change in management at Comedy Central and stuff ended up in the end of BattleBots at the end for a time. But you all switched to BattleBots IQ, correct?
Yeah. So the early years of BattleBots didn't include IQ until a couple seasons later, and that was more of Nola Garcia. Is that right? Is that her last name? Yeah, Nola Garcia, who ran BattleBots IQ for quite a few years, and I really wasn't involved so much in that, though I love the idea of it, so much so that I'm a big advocate today for STEM-based education, and we're going to have some exciting announcements coming out soon on the educational side. So I'm really excited about that, and I think I serve as a board member on our educational plan. So I'm also excited about that.
Yeah, that's the thing other people don't know about you as well as just being the head referee. You are one of the executive vice presidents of BattleBots.
Yes. Yeah. So I work behind the scenes. I work closely with Greg and Trey and Tom, kind of the executive committee. I also interface with our production partners over at Whale Rock, Chris and Aaron, not as frequently, but I always give my 2 cents in. But I'm very careful with making sure I don't cross over any boundaries that would jeopardize any of my ability to kind of cloud my judgment when it comes. Refereeing is when I'm in that shirt, it's all about making the best calls for the sport, and I pretty much put away all of my involvement in the production of the show. I may have an idea here or there that comes up, but it's all about making sure that we're reffing, because this sport, there's just too much invested in this to have something, cloud my judgment on that. And I think I've done I know I've done a really good job of doing that. And I love all of the teams that are involved. The hardest thing for me is there are two things. Number one, I know how hard and how long and how much time and money they've put into building these amazing creations, and to see them just get destroyed, sometimes in seconds, and see the reaction of them. And I can feel it. I can feel their hearts kind of drop, below their stomach when that happens. The other thing is, counting them out. I'd rather that go to the judges, but I always say, don't let it go to the judges, because you never know what's going to happen. Finish it in the arena.
Yeah, which brings me to a question from the audience. I solicited some questions beforehand from some fans and stuff, and so we have this one from Bot with No Name. Is it solely the ref's discretion to determine when to start a count, or do they have someone in their ear to help make that determination?
Oh, that's a great question. So let's start with the rules. The rules say that this is the discretion of the referees, and we make the call based on our interpretation of the rules. Number two, who's in our ear? I have all the referees linked up so that we can communicate together. That's important for several reasons. Number one is, as the head referee, I'm able to communicate to the rest of my team what I think they should be doing. However, I've said to them, you follow your interpretation of the rules. We communicate, we talk all the time. We really focus on being on the same page, understanding how the rules are written and how to apply them. But I tell them they are not to be influenced by any outside voices. Let it be the fans, the producers, and so on. The people in the truck do not communicate with us. And when I say the truck, I mean the control room. So Chris and Aaron and their whole team, who are talking to the cameras, and they're putting the show together and making it look pretty and hoping that there are the most dramatic moments out there, they do not communicate with us. We only have two people who hears us. I assume everybody hears us in the control room. We don't talk to Chris and Kenny. We don't interface with them. We don't interface with any of the judges. I don't even know if the judges can hear us. That's a question for the production team. I stay out of that. Nobody talks to us other than Greg, Trey, and my two other referees. It's really important that Greg and Trey talk to us. Trey is there for safety. Greg is there because he helps us interpret, who's fighting next. We ask him questions on what's the name of this new team again, because there are sometimes some new teams.
He helps fill in the details.
He does. However, Greg and Trey will sometimes disagree on things, and we hear that crosstalk. They will sometimes tell us their interpretation of things. But I have told my referees they do not listen to anybody other than their own gut and heart as it relates to the rules. And they don't always like the decisions that we make, and they don't always agree. But what's really interesting is that sometimes they don't agree with each other and they go off and deal with it. And sometimes they don't agree with us. But you know what? There's really nothing they can do about it. I suppose they could let us go, but we've been doing it for a long time now, so I think we're doing a pretty good job at it. But no,
Yeah.
the integrity of the sport is way too important to have anything. You know, I hear chatter and I see posts on social media that they tell us what to do. They may state their opinion, but we don't follow it unless our interpretation of the rules happen to be the same. But you know, Trey I've known since I was 12 years old, Greg soon after that, and I'm not afraid to go toe-to-toe with either one of them. And we've had some pretty heated discussions about things, and I'm not afraid to make the call exactly the way that I believe it should be called without any outside influence convincing me one way or the other.
Well, that's good. I mean, that pretty much what I expected. You know, I've known you a long time. I know that's exactly the sort of person you are.
Yeah,
but
that's an integrity question, right? As soon as something like that were to happen, the integrity for everything goes out the window. I mean, we are a sport. We are.
You end up with the game show rules as well. The quiz show rules as well. You know, being a competition, it being rigged, you end up possibly with criminal liability. You just can't afford that.
One of the things that ABC was adamant about was that we didn't have Pete. You remember Pete used to control the weapons, and they didn't like that. When we had one of our first meetings with, we go into this room with, I think there was like 50 attorneys in there from ABC, and they're all like, tell us about the arena weapons. Oh, well, there's Pete. And, you know, they said, well, who's Pete? He's the old guy that pushes the buttons for the arena weapons. They're like, oh, we can't have that. I said, what do you mean you can't have that? And he says, oh, it's got to be random. Pete could be bought off. I go, Pete can't see, he can't hear. He doesn't like anybody, you know? So we had to eliminate Pete. We built this entire control board that randomizes everything and stuff. So Pete just sits there and kind of looks at the buttons now, which is, you know. But he's still there. We love Pete. He is irreplaceable. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I just wouldn't subject myself to that. And I kind of go through life with that same lens of trying to look at every situation as fair as possible. And so I feel like I've kind of been groomed for this job my whole life because I feel like I can put a lot of that aside. I'm not perfect in that, and some things I get more passionate about than others. But yeah, I feel like the referees in general, you know, it's so important for us to get it right. That's the most important thing. And we'll admit when we get it wrong, and we'll fight for the things that we think, you know, need to be fought for.
So leading on, that leads perfectly into the next question I got here, which is from Living Murphy's Law, which is, if you could go back in time and change refereeing on one fight, what fight would it be?
There was a fight with Ray Billings and Tombstone, and I don't remember who he was fighting, but it was about 3 seasons ago, and I believe he lost control of one wheel.
That tire on Scorpios looks beat up already, Chris. Wow. Holy smokes. No! Scorpios goes weapon to weapon, but now Tombstone looks angry. Oh, what a shot! Tombstone takes a chunk out of Scorpios, but Zach Lytle ready for more. Oh, huge hit. Wow. Scorpio still proceeding with a lip pad. Oh, my goodness. Another huge hit, and Tombstone just rolling in place, and Scorpio's right back on the attack. Jeez. Oh. Uh-oh. No. Brutal collisions, Kenny. Tombstone looks hurt. Just got a crab walking now. Scorpio's bearing down on the legend and delivering another body blow. Amazing. Oh my goodness! And look at this! Tombstone's right tire dangling by a thread now, and Scorpio's refusing to let up, Kenny!
Zach is a fighter, Chris. He keeps going right at Tombstone.
And Ray Billings is flirting with disaster here. Tombstone is barely moving. But here comes that blade firing back out. Oh! Tombstone loses a tire! Oh! Unbelievable! Tombstone gasping for air in the corner! Approaching the 1 minute mark!
I'm not sure that's control movement, Chris. Ray Billings in serious trouble.
The former champ, he's on the ropes! And listen, the countdown has started!
Wow.
The ref signaling he has seen enough! Team Scorpios is celebrating!
That's a knockout on Tombstone winner, Scorpio!
And Ray Billings is...
And I counted him out. And I believe it was that particular fight that really laid the foundation for our change in rules, in that we now let the fights pretty much go to the end, and we don't have to really interpret what is controlled movement and what is not, because that's the most challenging thing. You put in a group of people up there and you ask them, is that controlled movement or not? You're going to get many different answers. And so every robot has its own unique design and characteristics with how it functions and operates and moves. And it's really hard for referees to interpret that. Looking at that fight, I would absolutely let that fight go on until I really felt that Ray was incapacitated. Because I look at that now and I go, I think I got that one wrong. I'm pretty sure I got that one wrong.
Which then goes to the thing is, do you ever feel bad about having to enforce a rule such as counting out a bot with partial movement?
Bad? I don't feel bad about reinforcing the rules. I feel, I know how much work, as I said earlier, how disappointed it must be. I feel it and I see it in their expression, but you're caught up in the moment and you need to do your job. And so you got to put all that aside and, I'm going into my movement and I'm counting out and, I want the audience to be able to interpret what's going on. I want Chris and Kenny to see what's going on. And I want the other team to know what's going on, because that communication is critical. It's the end of the fight. And we got to get that right. And so I'm focused on looking for movement. Is that robot completely incapacitated? Sometimes we'll pause a count. You'll see shows where we'll pause a count because we may be seeing movement. If it's just kind of an anomaly or really isn't moving or there's really no control, we'll continue that count. But if they come back to life, we're saying fight on. So I'm focused at that point. I don't have a moment to feel bad. There's one winner at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Everybody else loses. You gotta understand that going into this, that there's only going to be one winner. However, everybody that enters BattleBots, they're the best in the world.
Oh yeah, because I've been right there with you.
I know you know that, but
yeah.
It's so
good. Right. Yeah. You're getting that referee intensity going there a bit.
Yeah.
I'm in the mind zone.
Yeah. I love what I do. I kind of block everything out. The producers give us some kind of guidelines. They're like, look for the camera just so we can get you in the shot, so we can communicate to the audience what you're doing. That stuff happens. That happened many years ago. But we're focused on being in the right place at the right time. We want to put on a great show, and I understand part of putting on a great show is, when you're counting somebody out, make it big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, has anybody ever tried to bribe you?
No, nobody's ever tried to bribe me. I'll tell you, when we first found out we were moving to Vegas, I was like, uh-oh, I'm curious what's going to happen there. But no, nobody has ever tried to bribe me, ever. Nobody's ever, to the best of my knowledge, I'd be willing to bet on this, nobody has ever tried to bribe any of the referees. And I think we would figure out if there was something nefarious going on.
What about intimidation? I mean, you're a lot of big guys, a lot of strong people, a little bit of looming and stuff now. I mean, it has happened in the past at the thing. I had it in Vegas. In fact, I had that one team tried to loom on me a bit to let them get away with some stuff in the pits when I was running the pits for season 2.
Listen, some of them are really good at trying to find any angle they possibly can to get that extra advantage. Some of them have bigger personalities than other. As a referee, you have to come in there as a rock and know that you're there to make sure that people are following the rules, and that's the foundation of everything we do. So you have to be willing to accept the slings and arrows, not only of the teams, but also of the fans that either like or don't like the call that you make. But yeah, they try. They try to all the time. There's movement. I'm moving. I'm like, your robot's cut in half. I'm not. No, it may not be that bad, but yeah, they're arguing with you, and they're pointing things out to you. And as a referee, I think it's your job to listen and look and interpret to the best of your ability, and that's what we do. I've been shoved before, which. Now we have the ability to throw people out and to give warnings. So we've adjusted the rules as situations have come up, and I think we do a pretty good job. But yeah, we have to have thick skin when we're up there.
Again, you're just reading my mind of these, because these next question I have right here is from the Carpe, who asks, have you ever had to disqualify a competitor for flat out ignoring your warnings or instructions? Or if not, what was the closest you've come to doing so? But you don't have to actually, name any names.
Yeah, I won't sugarcoat this one at all. First off, no, we've never disqualified anybody. Referees have never disqualified anyone for anything. We've given out a few warnings. We gave out some warnings this past season, and we gave out some warnings in previous seasons. But the warnings are there just so we're clear. Instead of saying, am I clear? And they're not listening, we give a warning. And we have 3 warnings to give out to each team individual. And if they're not following it, then they'll be disqualified. I would hate to have to disqualify anyone. However, the rules are there in case the situation arises to that level. We also have some conduct policies, and the officials can disqualify somebody for something really egregious. So, but the referees, no, we've never disqualified somebody. I really don't look forward to that day, but if it rises to the occasion, we won't hesitate to do so.
Yeah, because my experience, again, has been that most competitors are really, really nice guys, and they'll, really nice people. They'll go out of their way to help each other. They're not the kind of confrontational and looking to get desperate to get that edge so much that they will break the rules. I mean, they'll hand out motors and parts to people they've just lost to. They'll hand their spare parts to help them get on in the next match if need be.
Yeah, the team, they are very nice. However, I've watched them grow over the seasons, and they've really turned into great competitors. And part of what I believe makes a great competitor is somebody that is looking for that opportunity to, get that little extra edge. Maybe they take it right up to the line, but they don't cross it, but they're right there. And listen, that fire that comes from their belly, I've seen that fire burn brighter and brighter every season. Some competitors now are just so intense, and they started off really shy and quiet. And honestly, I think that makes the sport better. And I love that kind of interaction. I'm not afraid to be challenged at all. And I don't think any of our referees are afraid to be challenged at all. And honestly, I think it makes for better TV, but they don't cross that line. And I think it's what's great about our sport. It'll probably happen at some point, but honestly, I really don't want to see it. I just think it's human nature. At some point, it'll happen.
pushing the edge. I mean, that goes right back to the very first fight aired on the ABC seasons, which was with Derek, wasn't it, with the box?
Yes.
Where he had the net inside.
Yes.
Oh boy, yes.
Yeah. So they had a box on top of their weapons that were like two forks, I believe. This was back
It was a clamper.
Yeah, like 70. Yeah, a clamper. That's right. And the box, it held what looked like a giant present. It was nicely wrapped in wrapping paper. I even think it had a bow on it.
Yeah.
And so we were all like, I wonder what's inside. I didn't know what was inside. Trey didn't know what was inside.
Let the bot battle begin. And here comes Ghost Raptor, and he takes care of the delivered gift, courtesy of complete control.
Oh, and that's a net. There was a net in the box, and he's jammed the blade of Ghost Raptor.
The rules used to say no entanglement devices. They took that out of there. However, what the rules did say is that all elements of design needed to be submitted. They didn't submit that. That wouldn't have been approved. So because there was an entanglement device inside of there, and Chuck Pitzer, he had
Gamma Raptor, I think.
Yes. And he was looking at me like, what's going on here? They're not allowed to do this. And so we all had this big conversation, and we determined that they didn't have that submitted. So the officials, who are not the referees, made the determination that they weren't allowed to have that in the fight. So, but I think they brought that fight back later on, maybe another day or two, and I don't remember who won, but so that's they didn't get disqualified, but they weren't allowed to do that. And when you have a new sport, and BattleBots still is a relatively new sport. I know we've been around for quite a few years, but it's new in this new world of world championships. We're still evolving. You look at any sport, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, maybe soccer is the exception. And I admit, I don't know as much about the rules, the laws, as they call them in soccer. They're not many, but most sports evolve quite a bit, and a lot of rule changes happen each season. And we do it just so we can get them right and make for a better show.
Yeah, I don't think I know the rules off by heart anymore. I think they've changed it a little bit since I last looked at the rules set.
Yeah, and they'll continue to evolve, I think.
Yeah. And you say, as things have evolved, as you said, so the bots have gotten bigger, stronger. We said the original BattleBots was 20 tons, which is even more impressive, is it not? I mean, it is. The lighting, the saws, everything is just bigger and more and thicker.
Yeah. So the bots are 250 pounds, as we say, on this side of the pond, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have any other weight classes, I'm sure, as most of your viewers know, but the power behind them, the way they're engineered, the strategies, everything is just bigger and better. And I think this last season was complete evidence of just the sheer power behind these things. We used to have fights that many of them didn't go the distance, and now we're having fights that they're going the distance, or they're destroying their opponents in spectacular ways. So the quality of the fight's so much better, and that's just because technology has gotten better, and teams are better at engineering and learning and strategy, and the sport
throwing a lot more money at it as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'm sure that's a topic for another day, the whole money side that the team has spent. And I know that it's immense, and they pull in a lot of favors. That doesn't account for time, right? It's just the sheer materials and machine costs associated with it, and the tools that they need to have. Thank goodness they have sponsors, but that's something that I know is a real challenge for many of the teams.
Yeah, it was, past episode we had Craig Danby on, and yeah, he was telling me about that because I've known Craig about as long as I've known you, and we used to compete back in the UK together back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're saying that just the difference between the costs of a bot now is you're talking $30,000-$40,000 minimum. So things back then you could get away with. I won the middleweight championship in the UK with a $300 bot. So
Right.
that's just yeah.
And you got to leave your job for 2 weeks, in addition to all the time that it takes to build the bot during the year.
Yeah, because filming times have extended as well, haven't they? Because it used to be, as you said, we were match. Well, every 7 minutes, I think, back in the Comedy Central days, we'd turn over a match and film, and now it's what is it, one every half hour or so?
I think that's what we shoot for. Yeah, is one every half hour. I don't really keep track of that. The days
It
actually
feels like forever. Yeah.
Yeah. While the fights take longer from introduction to cleanup, the actual days are shorter now for us because we're not doing so many fights in one day. We just have the World Championship 250-pound bots, and that's all that we're doing. We have 2 sessions a day. Sometimes I think we do 3 now on certain days, but I was younger, but I was more exhausted back in the early days. When you have time to just kind of relax after the fight, drink water, maybe get a quick snack here and there, talk with other referees. What did we do right? What could we work to improve upon? What's your interpretation of this? Are we all in agreement on this? It makes the day a lot smoother and not as chaotic and not as high stress.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the old days where it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other. This one's done quick. Get the next one in there. And so I don't miss those days, and my feet and my legs were so sore. I remember going back to the hotel room thinking, I can't make it through this. This is standing on that metal platform. Now we can sit down in between fights. And so anyway, enough of that.
And I'm sure the arena, the venue is more air conditioned as well. I remember the season 1 was, I think it was something like 115, 120 degrees inside the building at the Fort Mason.
Yeah, we've had some real hot ones, both in Vegas. I'm sorry, not in Vegas, in Long Beach and in Southern California, and I can't even remember. We've had so many fights in different locations. It's hot outside in Vegas. I feel bad for the teams because there's the builder's tent where the pits are in a separate.
They're back
building.
in tents again, are they?
Yeah, and our tent in Vegas is what they call a permanent tent or permanent, semi-permanent structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's very well air conditioned. It is so nice and cool. The builder's tent is nice and cool. The transition is a little uncomfortable, but hopefully that's no more than a couple minutes walk across. But testing's out there and welding. So yeah, it's not great, but it's
You
so
got to suffer for your art.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And I think they're so focused. They're sweating anyway, whether they're inside or outside. Their nerves and their heart is probably pumping at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I imagine we could pump all the air conditioning in the world. They'd love it, but it's so much cooler than it was.
I don't know. We had so that first Vegas one, it was actually below freezing most of the time outside when we were in the pits at the All American Sports Park, and it was literally below freezing most of the time. We had ice.
That's right.
That was Vegas. You got that coming up in the winter because you're doing a live show.
We are BattleBots Destructathon.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's robot fighting time!
It's a show that happens almost every night in Las Vegas. it's a spin-off of what you see on TV, in that it's a lot of the same. It's BattleBots, but packaged as a nightly entertainment Vegas show. The fights are real. It's not the same teams that own those bots that come out and fight them. We have a whole engineering crew and drivers that drive those bots specifically for the show. And we brought back Bill Dwyer, who is the original Comedy Central host of the TV show BattleBots, to be the host, along with a local Vegas native. Actually, I don't think he's a native, but he lives in Vegas now, Steve Jenkins. And the two of them do a great job. There's no Chris and Kenny. So Steve and Bill do their parts. It's a little bit different of a format, but it's still BattleBots. They're 3-minute fights. We have a witch doctor, not a minotaur. I'd love to get a minotaur. We have some surprises in there, some new bots, as well as a mixture of some of the most famous spots in there. So then we offer what's called Proving Ground. So every season we have a ton of bots that are kind of on the cusp of being allowed to compete or not. And I'm not on the selection committee. I don't think it's right for a referee to determine who should be in and who should be out. So I'm not involved in that. But I know Greg and Trey and the producers, they look at all the applications and the design work, and they figure that out. And there are a number of bots that they're just not quite sure, and there's no place for them to prove it. So part of BattleBots Destructathon is Proving Ground, and Proving Ground allows them to come to the BattleBots arena, compete almost at the same level. It's just not for TV. It's just for our live show. And it's like an audition for the TV show, doing almost the exact same thing. So it's a great opportunity. I love the addition that we've added to it. I love the extension of the brand. And there's nothing like it in Vegas. There's no other show that offers all the elements that BattleBots Destructathon offers. So every night is completely different. We have our show program, but you never know who's going to win. And we mix up the robots from time to time. And when the Proving Ground fights come in, it's anybody's guess as to which bot is going to win and which one isn't. And sometimes it gives teams that have a new design, that are well-established teams or teams that have competed in the show, an opportunity to maybe sharpen their skills or show that their robot still has it, or they want to show something new off that they've been working on. And that's what Proving Ground is. And we do that periodically. Check the schedule, battlebots.com. Click on Destructathon. You can find out pretty much everything you need to know there. It's located
code across the bottom here.
All right, there you go, right there. And it's located right behind Horseshoe, not in the Horseshoe, but right behind Horseshoe. It's the same BattleBots arena in the same location as we shoot the TV show. There are tickets available for every show right now. And we're excited to have people come in and experience BattleBots that couldn't do it over the 2 weeks that we shoot the show. So come on, check it out.
And you'll be doing that until November? Is it?
Yeah. So in November, Formula One will launch its first ever race in Las Vegas, and so everything is pretty much new to everybody as it relates to Formula One. They're repaving the streets. They're having to build a complete paddock area, which is right across the street. One of the things you'll notice as soon as you come into the BattleBots parking lot, right across the street is the Formula One paddock. A lot of businesses are having to change their schedules like us, and so we'll be dark for about 5 weeks from the end of October through I think it's about the 4th of December for Formula One. We are right in the island. The track is all the way around us, goes through the strip and down Koval and the paddock is right on Koval as well. So yeah, we'll be down, but we're there pretty much every other night up until then, and we'll start right back up. And the only other time we'll take a break from Destructathon will most likely be when we shoot the TV show.
Which, because of Formula One, is I believe being pushed back till early next year, sort of March, April time. I believe I've heard.
No, Formula One is happening in November.
No, let's say the next filming, next film for the next season.
Filming. Yeah, so I don't have any specifics on that. There's, I'm pretty certain it's not going to happen until 24, but
yeah, like March, April time's what I'm hearing. So yeah,
yeah, I'm not involved in the direct negotiations with the production team and Discovery in terms of dates and so forth, and yeah, there's nothing yet to announce about 24. Hold on. I know that they're working behind the scenes to get everything all in place and planned out. And as soon as they're able, everybody's chomping at the bit. When is the next one, right? I want to know. I get calls from the other referees. Do you know anything? I get calls from friends. I wish I knew something more, but stay tuned. Hopefully we'll get some announcements sooner than later.
And hopefully, of course, with Formula One being there, you'll get to see how good some of those drivers are at driving some of your house bots, perhaps.
That would
try
be great.
and entice them into the box.
We would welcome any of the Formula One teams, any major race car sport team, any sport player from any major league sport. Raiders, you got the Vegas Knights, you've got the hockey team, maybe soon a baseball team. Any sport team player that wants to come, give us a call. Let us know. Maybe kind of fun to musician, entertainer. Hey, come check out BattleBots. I think you'll love it. And maybe there's a place for you somewhere alongside a team.
A little bit of celebrity specials.
That's right. That's right.
And
it's always
special
fun
episodes, perhaps. Yeah.
It's always fun to see celebrities. We have them come in. They love the show. Sometimes they bring their kids. Sometimes they bring their friends. We've had MMA fighters come and other people that do live shows in Las Vegas come, and musicians, athletes. We've had a pretty large gamut of people that come watch the show. But we do it for the fans. That's the number one. I personally love to be with the fans. And Dave Sanfilippo, the other referee, and I quite often can be found at the end of the session that we shoot for television, and we go out and we talk to the fans, and we love to engage with them because their hearts are really in the right place. They're there because they love it, and we love to talk about it. So we think it's important also to get the feedback and see what they thought about the show and how they liked it. And it also provides a face, and we encourage the teams. I know they're so busy, but they're slowly starting to come out too. So the teams come out and they sign autographs. What's really funny is Dave and I will come out there and people are like, can we take photos with you? And we're like, sure. Can we do a count out on video? And we count out with their kids or their families. And then Jake walks out, or one of the teams. I'm not picking on Jake. I love Jake. He walks out and he's a huge name in BattleBots, right? And he walks out there, and all the people that are surrounding the referees are like, they're out of there. And they're all around Jake. Dave and I are just kind of sitting there going, well, I guess it's time for us to exit because nobody's interested in us now. And rightfully so. So it's kind of fun, and we poke fun at ourselves for that.
Yeah. But there's don't know Jake. I mean, he's had some big hits and some big bots, and there was that obviously controversial decision with Huge and that cow catcher a few years back. Got him the official BattleBots Bad Guy Award, was it, from Ray a few years back?
Yeah, he's not a bad guy.
I know.
He's very colorful in his mannerisms and his voice, and I think he adds a great element to the show. I couldn't imagine BattleBots without his family there, and they're so creative and clever. I looked at that cow catcher thing, and listen, it's not my job. My job is not to determine whether or not that's legal. That happens before they come.
That's with safety, right?
That's with safety. That's correct. And so when they're in the arena, our job is to call the fight as we see it. So that particular fight, he was in the corner by the door opposite of me, or to the right of me, to the far corner to the right of me. And it was the COVID years where actually I was positioned caddy corner and away from the teams because they were trying to mitigate any potential spread. And so it looked like he was holding the opponent in there. And so I gave him a warning.
It's got huge pin now.
You need to release. Back up. I'm not touching him. He can back up if he wants.
Back up.
Back up.
Back up.
I don't need to move anymore.
Well, you hear Jake Ewart saying, I'm not actually touching
He
him.
can move if he wants. Back up. I'm not holding
Jake,
him.
back up. I'm telling you to back up. That's a warning.
Back up. Fine, I backed up. There you go. Come on.
Back up. Back up. Wow, okay, Jake Ewart talking some
Backed up
trash
again.
to the
There you
referee
go.
as well, saying, hey, listen, I'm backing up. I'm giving him some space to move. I don't have to.
Didn't even think about it for more than a second, other than I asked him to back up multiple times. He wasn't listening. So I gave him a warning. And in typical Jake's fashion, he says, I need to back up. Okay. So he backed up just, I don't know, a couple inches and then went right back in. And I was like, he did what I
You
asked
gave him a
him.
little chance, and yeah.
But that's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy what Jake and his family bring to BattleBots.
And what they often bring is a lot of violence, as our good friend Morgan would say, gourmet violence. And
That's what it's about, right?
From Master Marek, have you ever flinched when a bot's come towards you?
Oh, frequently, often. Sometimes I think about where I should be standing in relationship to who's in the arena, just in terms of, wow, this bot is really scary. I'm going to take a little step back. And no, I'm just kind of kidding about that. I fully trust the BattleBox arena. Nothing has ever gotten through that. And it's done its job every time. But I flinch, and it's hard not to when you've got shrapnel that's flying at you and you can't even see it because it travels the speed of a bullet. And it's flying against you at the glass. It's just human nature to flinch. And sometimes it's a whole robot that comes up and you're this close to the robot. And there's this couple inch thick Lexan and some steel frames that are protecting you. And that thing's flying at your face and you're jumping back. And the team's jumping back because they're usually right in front of you or right next to you. So we're all jumping.
And I was just rewatching the championship, the BattleBots championship, was it? Or yes, champions. And you had the lot of huge hits in there, such as when was a Gigabyte got completely severed into 3 pieces in midair, and
Trolls, John Remar may want to think about attacking here.
Gigabyte testing the waters. And Hypershoot is
It's all over! Are you kidding? It's all over! What a comeback! It looks like Will is going to be done for!
the heads on one end.
all those other just explosions of bots. Yeah, I can only imagine just the sounds in there still. I really miss, honestly, I do. I really miss not being there, and the sounds and the violence. It's
spectacular.
There's nothing quite like it, especially being that close. I mean, there's one thing to be 6-8 feet away, but to then be right up against the Lexan is just another thing altogether.
And you never know what's going to happen. I mean, all of a sudden, you have a bot that's looking like it's going to win. It's clearly the favorite, and something quickly changes in the fight where the tides turn. Maybe some mechanism that was failing, or the teams figured out how to fight in a different way, and they start to win. And that other bot gets destroyed in such a spectacular way, and there's a giant ball of fire that just comes out of the bot, and maybe the fight is over and you've got the two bots just in pieces all over the arena, and all of a sudden this little poof of smoke comes up that turns into this great big fire, and now we got to get the safety team in there, and they've got to put on their masks and go inside and safely put out a battery fire, which can be really, really dangerous. And we've got all these systems in place and train on how to deal with each type of fire, but that's just so fun to see. And unlike, a car crash where, there's a human element inside in a race, or a football player getting smashed into by another one and not getting up off the ground, these things explode spectacularly, and there's really no guilt in this pleasure.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, again, the Champions, the very first episode of the last season of Champions was, I think, like 4 bots caught on fire. And Tombstone, the whole back end caught on fire. Another one had batteries fly out and catch on fire and stuff. You see Trey, I know, with his SCBA mask and the air evacuation hose to get the fumes out. And it's
and they've got devices that are basically sniffing the air for any dangerous fumes that could be in there, so they know like if it's safe to enter in. Anybody that goes in needs to have a mask. Only limited people are involved. And so you were asking me a question earlier, like who's in my ear. Sometimes I can see a little flame from my vantage point, and I can communicate to Trey, fire, which gets him ready. Or the fight is about to start and a robot is having a hard time communicating. Everybody, the box is locked. The teams are supposed to drive to their respective squares, but a team notices something's not right. Trey gives the cue to the TV truck or to production to start the fight. I can hold it off if a team member tells me something's not communicating. We want the fight to go off. So I will communicate to Trey, hold on a second. We got to go back in there. So there's a lot of safety stuff that goes on. And we're just another set of eyes for that.
Okay, so as I said, you're not just the ref. As I said, you're the executive vice president of BattleBots, and you do one of the things is sponsorship. So we've noticed a lot of sponsor logos around the arena and stuff. You've had some interesting sponsors to help the builders with repairs.
So the teams are actually becoming really good at bringing on sponsors. Every team is allowed to bring in its own set of sponsors. They have to be approved by Discovery. Discovery has their reasons why they approve them, why not, because they have to deal with sponsors. And sometimes there's some conflict and they don't want there to be conflict. But anytime a company approaches us and says they're interested in sponsoring a team, my first question is always, absolutely. Do you know who you want to sponsor? If not, go to our website. Any team you want to sponsor, happy to put you in touch with them. In fact, we've added to our sponsorship deck many years ago, team sponsorship, so that companies can choose whatever form of sponsorship they want to do, whether it's with BattleBots and putting their logo on the inside the BattleBox arena at the driver's platform, inside the box, or if they want to work with a team. So we've got some great sponsors for both. It's not an easy job. There are a lot of challenges for both teams and for us on the BattleBots level, because again, we have to get those approved by Discovery. But every year we seem to kind of chip away a little bit at what we can do, and it's only for the betterment of the sport, makes the sport better, which is going to help, whoever our TV broadcaster is, sell the show.
Yeah. And some of them being somewhat experimental as well. You had Mark forged with metal 3D printers in recent times, which has been, that is still a very much experimental technology, and they've been using it in a trial by fire.
Yeah. So having a bunch of 3D printers on hand to print out parts is a wonderful thing. That's great. Anything, a lot of our sponsorships are, as much as we love the cash-based sponsors, a lot of them are trade. And having those essential services like welding and machining, so important for the success of the teams in order to get their robots ready and repaired after each fight. Just so important. And those sponsors like Lincoln Electric, so important to us. To all of us.
Lincoln. I do remember a case. I think it was the very first one again in Long Beach, where one team, and I won't mention the names, but they were sponsored by the competing main welding company, and they went around a lot of the time putting that competing welding company stickers around over the Lincoln Electric ones. So yeah. I'm not saying no there, but.
Everybody's looking for their edge, right?
Oh, yes. And so what else do you do in your role as vice president, apart from just sorting out sponsorship?
Yeah, so I'm executive producer on the Destructathon show. I don't live in Vegas, but I work for BattleBots and all our different spin-off properties. Just help coordinate and work with Greg and Trey on day-to-day business. I'm working on digital. I've taken over digital marketing right now. So everything you see ad-wise on the web pretty much went through myself and Greg Munson. Everything organic is Greg. He does a wonderful job with his team on Greg Munson, the executive producer, on that stuff. We have, I believe, about 16 million fans across all of our channels now. So he's done an incredible job growing that. I believe back in the ABC days, I don't know, I think we had like maybe 600,000 or 700,000, maybe close to 1 million across all. But we have videos that have gone viral and huge interactions, and so it's great to see, and I'm proud to be part of that team. I interface with Greg and Trey almost daily on many different initiatives, growing the brand, talking to various companies, bringing in new partners, finding new ways to hopefully generate revenue. Those are just some of the things that I work on a daily basis.
So it's just nonstop. It's not just standing there in the stripes and counting the 10. It's all the paperwork and all the behind the scenes stuff to get to keep the grease of the wheels running.
That's right. And then in the off season, we review the rules. We talk about the rules. We get in the weeds on them. We work with Mike Jeffries, who's a great steward for BattleBots. I'm so happy to have him. Yeah. I
was going to bring up Mike because I've known Mike a number of years as well.
Great guy,
because he's based here in Atlanta with me. So yeah, I just saw him last week.
So I had a business a while back, and I had an attorney, and there were multiple partners in this business. And the attorney was the attorney for the business, and he said, "Listen, I don't represent any one of you individually. I represent your business. I work in the favor of the business. So anything you ask me is going to be what's best for the business. Think of it as another entity, as another person. And that's who I represent." And I always liked that, the description that he gave me there. And Mike Jeffries he's all about what is best for BattleBots and his interpretation of the rules. And that's exactly what we needed in somebody like that. While he's not in my ear, I do often go over and discuss things with him after a fight. And because he's been a competitor at a high level in BattleBots, and he knows those rules like nobody's business, just like a referee would. And it's great to have somebody with that experience and knowledge that is there to just clarify. And sometimes when I'm thinking, I could have called it this way, but that's the way I called it because that's my interpretation of the rules. And when that happens in my mind, I want to go get reassurance from somebody like a Mike Jeffries to say, yes, that was the right way to do it, because that makes us all better. And he's just so great at that.
He's just such a great person, as well as such a really nice, easy person to communicate with as well. A lot of time, I've never known him to have an angry or an upset word, which is great when you're in a high stress situation like filming a show.
Yes, and he's, with great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility, and he's got
he's a very responsible guy,
and his manner, his character is perfect for that, as you just described.
So we talked about champions, and you got another champions coming up very soon, correct?
The Golden Bolt.
Yes.
Yes, it's coming up. It's gonna. I'm not sure when this will go live, but yes. Oh, you got it right there. Look at that. Premieres October 5th. Tune in, Discovery Channel. Stream it or watch it on the broadcast Thursday nights. I'm very excited. Another great tournament is coming with a lot of twists and surprises and drama. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. This is long overdue. Discovery's been trying to figure out when the perfect time to air this is, and there's no better time than October 5th, because that's what time it's airing.
The quest for another one of the sport's crown jewels.
Team In-Game wins the first ever Golden Bolt.
Enters its second chapter. 5 nights of single elimination fights, culminating in a merciless winner-take-all tournament. Welcome to robot combat at its most raw. This is BattleBots Champions, the race for the Golden Bolt. Robots activate.
And I also noticed, of course, that you also joined. You took things to the max by the show becoming on HBO. Well, what's now Max, the streaming service Max as well.
Yeah. So when Warner and HBO and Discovery all became this one giant conglomerate, you can find BattleBots now. It used to be Discovery Plus that was the streaming service for Discovery. Now you can see, I think, our whole library of the BattleBots Discovery shows. Now you can stream at your leisure whenever you want. So check it out.
I just had one on not like 2-3 hours before we started doing this. I just to refresh my memory and get my head in the game. The blood sport, and to try and the sounds, the things, and also to get the Farouk intro down, the pacing and stuff.
There you go.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. So why the Golden Bolt? And so why is that gold and not silver like the rest, or the kind of medallion things that the Bounty had?
Good question. I wish it's a great question. It never occurred to me to ask that question. Why is it the Golden Bolt? I think somebody just thought it would be cool to be the Golden Bolt, but I don't know why it's called the Golden Bolt. But now I'm going to go ask.
Well, I mean, obviously it's gold itself, but I mean, yeah.
Yes,
but,
yes. Yeah. So we always want more fights, right? And
oh, yeah.
What happens towards the end of a season, a world championship season, is you start to weed out a lot of teams. And there are a lot of teams that a lot of the fans don't want to see go. Also, as you get towards the end, you start having fewer and fewer fights to have. And so we have to also give those teams the final 8 bots, which are only 4 fights, between the 8 to get down to the next round. You have to give them time to repair. And as the grouping gets smaller and smaller, there are these larger windows for us to have to give the teams time to repair their bots. So the idea came about is, let's have another competition with some of those bots that that were eliminated or that still want to compete in the Golden Bolt. And a lot of teams wanted to fight others. So they're grudge matches. And it allows us to kind of take the world championship and turn it up on its head and do some fun and creative things and give us some of the best fights we've ever had. So, yeah, I think I'll let the audience be the judge, but you're going to see some great fights, in my opinion, coming out.
And during the thing, it says each one shows like in a day. Each episode is a day. What is it actually a day that it's filmed in? Each one?
Typically, I don't know. I don't sit in the edit bay. I don't remember every fight from every day, but that's kind of the idea. Things happen where, bots
it's not a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, and maybe they've rescheduled a fight. I don't,
because when it's three in a day, it's a very different dynamic to one today, one tomorrow, one the next day. You still got to get that quick turnover.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So, yeah.
Now when you come to see BattleBots filmed as an audience member, you're guaranteed to see some amazing fights.
Well, we've always had amazing fights. I mean, but are there any bots you'd like to see or teams you'd like to see come back that have kind of left the stable over the years?
I'd like to see Bite Force come back. I think Bite Force left after it won its third championship in a row, and a lot of people have enjoyed watching them over those 3 seasons. I think a lot of teams feel like they can beat them, whether they can or can't, I don't know. So I'm sure that it would be fun for teams to demonstrate what they've got. And I'd also love to see what they've got brewing in the garage over there, at the shop over there, Team Bite Force, to see if they got something new. But yeah, I'd love to see them come back. Let's see. Who else? Ray obviously took a season off because of his hand, but I believe he's going to come back. Hard to not have him. He's such an icon in the sport. I'd like to see. I can't think of who.
Carlo Bertocchini.
Oh, Carlo, sure, yeah. Oh, you're going way back. Yeah, I'd love to see Carlo come back. Every now and then I hear a rumor: Carlo's coming back. Carlo's coming back. Carlo, come back. Anybody that's been involved with BattleBots before that was a world championship, come back. Come back. We'd love to have you back. Submit your design. Talk to Greg and Trey. Get on the show. Do whatever you can. Those were great times, and I think it's a great story. And I know that the producers would love to tell that story. That's why I'd love to see Bite Force come back. I think that's a great story to tell. Paul, come back.
What about you? Would you do a bot? I remember reading an interview you did in 2018. You said that during the very first Long Beach thing, you sat down during a lunch and drew out on a napkin and a bot design. And you ever thought about?
I wish I kept that. I wish I kept that design. I remember drawing it out. I remember the restaurant. It was like this little hole in the wall restaurant near the Long Beach Pyramid.
You got to leave. Wow. Hey,
yeah,
that craft food was great. I didn't leave.
Yeah, there was no food, and so I ran down the street to grab while I was waiting for my lunch. I didn't even have somebody to go get it. I was just so hungry. But yeah, I can't even remember the weapon that it had and whether it had 4 wheels or 2 wheels. But I remember I was so inspired by what I saw, and I felt it all starts with just jotting your ideas down, whether they're good or bad, who knows? Just put something down on paper. It was just fun to do it. And I kept that napkin. I remember I folded it up, I put it in my pocket, and I walked out, and I kept it for a while, and I have no idea. I wish I still had it. It would be fun to look at. But yeah, someday I think it would be fun to join a team. I think I'd be a good driver. Just having the experience of being up there, seeing how the teams strategize, what I think in terms of strategy, all the experience I've had watching and learning over the years. I know I'm not an engineer, but I've learned enough to at least be somewhat intelligent just in terms of ideas. But then again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't even want to pretend that I am. I'd also like to be a judge. I think it's something that I do really well at. I've watched these teams over the years. I know the way they think. I hear what they say. And I think being a judge would be a lot of fun. I'd like to be a much more vocal judge and let people know exactly why I voted a certain way. But being a judge would be a lot of fun. So
You yeah, both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to be a judge as well and try.
Yeah, I think being a judge, you get to sit in the best seat in the house right there, right in the middle of the arena. Second best.
I still think being at the arena doors as the crew bot is absolutely the best.
Oh, well, notice I said
right
seat.
There.
Notice I said seat. Oh. The crew bots don't even get to sit down. Those poor guys.
Believe me, my knees know it.
Yes. Yeah, listen, any job in BattleBots is fun. It's such a family. It's an amazing family, and I truly mean that. I love it. I've said this many times, but I love the fact that all these people from all different walks of life, across different spectrums, political spectrums, socioeconomic, they all come together, they put down their differences, and they work towards a greater cause, which is putting on a great sport competition and a great show, ultimately. And I love that about it. And quite frequently, we'll, at the end of the day, or at lunchtime, we'll sit down and we'll break bread together and we'll chat and we'll learn about each other and our families and, the exciting things that are happening in life or the challenging things that are happening. And it's just so great to be part of this BattleBots family. So any job, just about it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on board.
Where can I apply?
Exactly. Great to trade.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm just about running out of questions here. Yeah. So
hold on. I'm not seeing any movement here. You got nothing? You got nothing left here? I'm counting this one out. This interview, I'm counting out in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knockout. This interview's over.
Damn it. Does that mean I lost? Huh? Because I, for one, enjoyed this last hour so much that, I feel like I'm a winner. And if you enjoyed it as well, then please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And until next time, stay safe and don't pet any strange combat robots without their owner's approval. Take care.